What if I told you that the ultimate apex predator of the Ice Age didn't survive by fighting, but by quitting? We think we know the story. Early humans, brave and strong, ventured into the dark woods, snatched a wolf pup from a den, and beat the wild out of it until it learned to sit. It's a cool story. It makes us look like masters of nature, but it's a total lie. The truth? The wolf that became the dog didn't get conquered. It invaded us. And the wolf you see in zoos today? That's not your dog's grandfather, that's a distant cousin. The actual ancestor of your pug or your golden retriever is a ghost, a specific type of Pleistocene wolf that is completely extinct. It lost the war for the wild, but it won the prize, the sofa. In this video, we're going to prove that your dog is actually a biological Trojan horse that hacked your brain chemistry, rewrote its own DNA to eat your trash, and legally transformed from a piece of property into a person. Stick around because by the end of this, you'll never look at your dog the same way again. So let's rewind, like way back. We're talking 20,000 to 40,000 years ago, the Ice Age. It's cold, everything wants to eat you, and humans are basically just hairless apes with anxiety and sharp sticks. Now, the common belief, and I'm sure you've heard this, is the pup abduction theory. The idea is that some hunter-gatherer guy named Og found a wolf puppy, brought it home, and raised it. Sounds cute, right? But think about it. Have you ever tried to raise a wild animal? It's a nightmare. They don't want to cuddle, they want to eat your face. In a survival situation where food is scarce, you aren't wasting precious meat on a wolf that's just going to grow up and bite you. So if we didn't kidnap them, how did they get here? The science points to something called the commensal scavenger hypothesis. Basically, they domesticated themselves. Imagine you're a wolf. You could chase a moose for 3 days, risk getting kicked in the head and maybe starve. Or you could creep up to the edge of that human camp where they just threw a pile of mammoth bones and guts into a ditch. It's free calories. But there's a catch. You have to be brave enough to get close, but chill enough not to attack the humans. This is the flight distance filter. This created a split in the family tree. And this is a really important scientific distinction. Your dog did not descend from the modern gray wolf. They are cousins. They both descended from a common ancestor, a ghost population of Pleistocene wolves that roamed Eurasia and then vanished. One branch stayed wild and became the gray wolf. The other branch, the trash wolves, followed us. They chose the easy life. And that choice changed their biology forever. To survive near humans, you can't be flooded with adrenaline and cortisol, stress hormones, every time you see a person. You need to be chill. So nature started selecting for wolves with lower adrenal function. And this is where it gets weird. We actually prove this happens with the famous Siberian fox experiment by Dmitry Belyaev. He took wild foxes and only bred the friendliest ones. Within just a few generations, they didn't just get nicer, they started looking different. Belyaev proved the domestication syndrome. When you select for tameness, low adrenaline, you accidentally change the animal's look. It's called the neural crest cell hypothesis. The stem cells that make adrenaline also make cartilage, pigment, and jaw bones. So when these wolves evolved to be less stressed, they accidentally got floppy ears, weak cartilage, white spots, less pigment, and shorter snouts. They literally evolved to look like permanent babies. Cute wasn't the goal. Cute was a biological accident. And while we're busting myths, let's talk about the biggest one, the alpha wolf. You know the drill, the dominant leader who fights for control, the Cesar Millan stuff. Well, the guy who popularized that theory, Dr. David Mech, he literally retracted it. He begged his publisher to stop printing his book. Turns out, in the wild, wolf packs are just families. The alpha is just dad. The subordinates are the kids. They don't fight for dominance, they cooperate. This is huge because it means dogs didn't see us as alphas to be overthrown. They saw us as parents to be followed. So we've got these chill, trash-eating, accidental baby wolves hanging around our campfires. They aren't pets yet, but they aren't enemies. They've invaded our space, and we let them stay because, let's be honest, they cleaned up the garbage and barked at bears. It was a business transaction. But to go from business partner to best friend, something crazy had to happen inside their bodies. Hey, quick question before we get to the science. Look at your dog right now. Does he look like an apex predator or a potato? Drop a comment below. Predator or potato? I'm betting on potato. Okay, part 2, the pattern interrupt. This is where the dog stops being a wolf entirely. First up, diet. Wolves are carnivores. Humans are, well, we eat everything. But especially after the agricultural revolution, we ate a lot of starch, wheat, rice, corn. A wolf eating bread is going to have a bad time. But dogs, they evolved a superpower. It's called the AMY2B gene. It produces amylase, the enzyme that breaks down starch. Wolves have 2 copies of this gene. Dogs, they have up to 34 copies. This gene expansion turned dogs into biological vacuum cleaners for our leftovers. But the real hack, the one that actually traps you, is in the face. Scientists found a specific muscle called the levator anguli oculi medialis. It's a mouthful, but you know it. It's the puppy dog eyes muscle. It raises the inner eyebrow. Wolves, they literally have no muscle like this. They physically cannot make that sad face. Dogs evolved this muscle specifically to manipulate us. When they raise that eyebrow, their eyes look bigger, more like a human baby. It triggers a nurturing response in our brains. We can't help it. And it gets deeper. There's a chemical loop. When a mother looks at her baby, both of them release oxytocin, the love hormone. Guess what happens when you stare into your dog's eyes? The exact same thing. Your oxytocin goes up, the dog's oxytocin goes up. It's a cross-species biohack. Wolves, if you stare at them, they think you want to kill them. No oxytocin, just violence. But there was a trade-off. Evolution isn't free. To become this friendly social genius, the dog had to give something up. Brains. The dog's brain is about 20 to 30% smaller than a wolf of the same size. They lost the parts of the brain needed for complex problem solving in the wild because we became their problem solvers. They outsourced their survival to us. In a way, they dumbed themselves down to fit into our world. But hey, they sleep on pillows and we go to work, so who's the real genius? Part 3. The payoff. How do we know they were pets and not just tools? The answer is in the graves. 14,000 years ago, in Bonn-Oberkassel, Germany, archaeologists found a grave with a man, a woman, and a puppy. Now, usually you think, okay, maybe they ate it or it was a sacrifice. But they analyzed the bones. This puppy was 7 months old, but it had canine distemper. It was incredibly sick. It would have been vomiting, seizing, unable to walk or eat for weeks. A sick puppy in the Ice Age is useless. It can't hunt, it can't guard, it's a burden. The only way it survived to 7 months is if those humans hand-fed it, wiped its face, and kept it warm day and night for weeks. There was no economic benefit. They did it because they loved it. This is the first proof of the pet. They didn't care for it because it was a tool. They cared for it because it was family. Then jump to 12,000 years ago. Ein Mallaha in Israel, the Natufian people. They found an elderly woman buried, and her left hand, was resting gently on the chest of a puppy. Even in death, she was petting her dog. It's an eternal embrace. This wasn't accidental. It was a statement. This is my companion, and we go together. We even see it in footprints. The Chauvet Cave in France, 26,000 years ago. Deep in the dark, they found footprints of a little kid, maybe 8 years old. Walking right next to them, wolf tracks. But the tracks don't cross. They aren't stalking. They're walking side by side. The middle toe is shorter, a trait of dogs, not wolves. It's a snapshot of a kid and their dog exploring a cave, torch in hand, just like kids do today. The boy and his dog story isn't a movie trope, it's our history. And it wasn't just commoners. In ancient Egypt, 2200 BC, there was a dog named Abu Tuyu. He was a royal guard dog. When he died, the pharaoh ordered a ceremonial burial from the royal treasury. Fine linen, incense, a coffin, and a tomb built by masons. The inscription says it was so he would be honored before the great god Anubis. They believed this dog had a soul, a ka, that deserved the afterlife just as much as a nobleman. This connection might be why we're still here. There's a theory called the animal connection by anthropologist Pat Shipman. She argues that dogs were the first living tool. They gave us their nose, their ears, and their speed. They let us out-hunt and out-compete the Neanderthals. We didn't just domesticate the dog helped us conquer the world. We're a two-species team. Part 4. The Law. As society got complicated, so did the rules. In ancient Babylon, the city laws were surprisingly cool. There's a letter to the king saying whoever enters Babylon is safe. Not even a dog that enters it is killed. It was like a sanctuary city for dogs. They were sacred to Gula, the goddess of healing. But then came the Romans, and the Romans loved property law. The Romans had this legal concept, actio de pauperi. Basically, if your four-footed animal caused damage, you were liable. But it treated the animal like a slave or a child. You could either pay for the damage, or you could hand over the animal to the victim. Here, take the dog. He's your problem now. It was this weird mix of the dog being a property, but also having an agency to commit a crime. There was even a debate about a specific law, the Lex Pesolania, just for dogs. Scholars argue if it was real, but it shows the Romans were obsessed with categorizing dogs, hunting dogs, shepherd dogs, house dogs. But then came the Dark Ages. Philosophers like Descartes argued animals were just machines made of meat with no souls and no feelings. It took us centuries to unlearn that stupidity. For centuries, dogs were legally just chattel, movable property like a toaster or a shovel. But science is finally forcing the law to catch up. We know about the oxytocin, we know about the facial muscles, we know they feel. So now places like France, Spain, and Oregon have laws recognizing animals as sentient beings. In divorce courts, judges are starting to decide custody based on the best interest of the animal, not just who bought it. We are finally legally admitting what those people in Bonn-Oberkassel knew 14,000 years ago. They are not things, they are people. And there's one story that sums this up perfectly. Grover Krantz. He was an eccentric anthropologist, the guy who donated his body to the Smithsonian. But he had one condition. He said to the museum, "I've been a teacher all my life. I want to teach after I'm dead. But you have to keep my dogs with me." And they did. Today in the Smithsonian, you can see Grover's skeleton. And right there, hugging him in an eternal embrace, is the skeleton of Clyde, his massive Irish wolfhound. Even in the hallowed halls of science, they couldn't separate the man from the dog. Because you can't. We co-evolved. We changed them, and they changed us. So think back to the wolf, the fierce, terrifying Pleistocene wolf. It's gone, extinct. But the beta, the friendly, trash-eating, eyebrow-raising, oxytocin-hacking scavenger, it conquered the planet. There are nearly 1 billion dogs on Earth. They live in our houses, sleep in our beds, and eat our food. The retention rabbit ends here. The wolf lost the battle for the wild, but won the war for survival. It's the only animal on Earth that loves you more than it loves itself. And all it asked for in return was a little bit of your sandwich, and maybe a belly rub. So the next time your dog stares at you with those big sad eyes, remember, you're not looking at a dumb animal. You're looking at a biological masterpiece that engineered itself to be your best friend. respect the hustle. If you think your dog is a genius biological hacker, smash that like button. If you think he's just a potato, subscribe. Let me know in the comments. What is the most human thing your dog does? Does he sigh when he's annoyed? Does he watch TV? I want to read them. Thanks for watching, and give your scavenger a treat from me. See you in the next one.